Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because, wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
Sing out, Louise. What fresh hell?
Laughing in the face of motherhood.
It doesn't matter how many palm trees there are.
With Margaret Abels
and Amy Wilson. Oh, I guess we can move the whole family to Florida.
A podcast that solves today's parenting dilemmas so you don't have to.
Amy, do I remember that story? Of course I do. Killer cheerleader mom. Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy. This week, we are talking about how not to live through our kids, or how not to live through our kids, or how to not live through your kids.
I think you could say either. How not to, how to not. Whatever order you want those words in, I think we know what we're talking about.
You see what I'm getting at, and I feel like this is a place where we are told to go and then are mocked for having gone, right? Like as
100%.
As default parents, particularly as mothers, we are supposed to, it's part of the assignment to put your own stuff aside and put your daughter's Irish step dancing or your son's diving or, travel soccer, whatever it is, you're enhancing their dreams. You're putting what they want to do first because you love them. And I'm not saying you think your kid is going to play professional soccer to spend a lot of time driving them to travel soccer because they love it and it's important to them and they're good, right? Like both can be true. And yet there's part of us that's like, well, there you go, stupid mom, way over investing and caring way too much about everything. And so I think it's kind of unfair, but I also think that there are times when we do live through our kids. I think both are true.
Yeah, we got to find a balance while everybody on the sidelines, while we're on the balance meme, is like, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. No, not like that. So this puts me in mind. I'll give you an example of this. One of my children is graduating from elementary school. We're not talking about, a major life event. This is elementary school graduation.
Which I want to start right there and say, like, okay, tweet elementary school graduation, but it was an event being planned by the school. It wasn't like your crazy idea. I'm going to overthink this.
And not for nothing, elementary school is, I realize now having older kids, that the concentration of work is early to late, meaning like there are days now, I was just saying this to my husband the other day, where I basically don't interact with my children at all. I have a kid who drives, who may drive them. And, it's just very diffuse, my interaction with them. When they were in elementary school, I was making them breakfast every morning. I was picking out their clothes. I was getting them in their clothes. I was taking them to school. Then I would go to the school because I was the secret reader or I was the math helper. And then I was helping to direct the play. It was basically a party for me, my graduation party, because I had done.
Right.
You're basically very involved in getting your kids through from K to 5th grade.
That's right. Okay, so it is a kind of a take a bow moment for the parents. But anyway, so our elementary school graduation, which was not a thing when I was growing up, now is very much a thing for our kids. And
I somehow end up on the decorating committee.
Okay.
For the elementary school graduation after party. Again, we're deep in a territory that we probably should have never been in to begin with.
Right.
I believe I go to a meeting at like 6 p.m. on a Tuesday at someone's home. There are 9 mothers there. There are no men. There are 9 moms who are tasked with the hula-themed luau themed graduation for the class. Everyone has ideas, and here's the budget, and here's what we should do. And, we could have a little pool where people could stick their feet. And should we have blow up palm trees? And should we have 5 or should we have 3? And then every couple of minutes, someone kind of jokingly acknowledges, like, this is kind of a lot for, like, look at us being idiots, putting this much work into an elementary school graduation. It was very notable to me that there was an intense amount of invisible and unpaid labor going on.
Yes.
Which even we were conditioned to laugh at and not value.
Right. While it's happening. How dare you care? You care, and then I'm dumb for caring. And then you have to sort of act that out almost. Like, I don't care that much. Ha, ha, ha.
Right. It doesn't matter how many palm trees there are. And realistically, also, some of the reason that people are good at this labor, and this is something I have learned myself as a not first level involved parent, not chairman of the PTA, not the mom with the clipboard, like signing everybody up and deciding like which vegetable we will dress as on vegetable day or whatever, that I have had a little bit of a tendency to goof on those moms, to be like, oh, there's Stacy, PTA mom extraordinaire.
Caring about vegetable day, right?
Caring about vegetable day. That is something in retrospect I look at and I think, that person was putting in a lot of work to do something they were not being paid for that benefited the kids.
Yeah, maybe the kids love vegetable day. If they're really enjoying it, somebody had to do it.
Yeah, and as a suburban mom, I think maybe especially, you just see a lot of kind of cliches playing out with women who had high-powered, New York City jobs who are now in charge of the nutrition committee. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to kind of laugh at them and say, oh my God, you're freaking out over which mom is going to dress as a carrot and which do we have a broccoli costume for the other mom for this presentation. Like, that is silly work that nobody cares about. But it, in fact, becomes the fabric of our kids' life at school.
That's a good point. So, all right, I wanted to ask the question, is this true? Like, do we live through our kids, right? Or is this something we just assume of the annoying mom with the clipboard? Is this even a thing at all?
It's definitely a thing.
So Freud says yes. Sigmund Freud said that many parents, and when he said parents, he meant mothers, of course. Like the dads are on the train of the city, right? They're not around. So Sigmund Freud said, many parents feel that the child shall fulfill those wishful dreams which they never carried out. And then Carl Jung said that parents desire their child to compensate for everything left unfulfilled in their own lives. They didn't prove this with studies or whatever. These were just conjectures, like it is therefore be it so because I think it's a thing and I'm going to say it's a thing. And we certainly operate under the assumption it is a thing. And I guess I think it kind of is a thing, but they're circling it as a problem because we're trying to get something we didn't get for ourselves through our children's accomplishments.
Yeah, so I think there's two things that are distinct, and we can talk about both, but I do think they're distinct. One is the kind of kin-keeping invisible labor aspect, which is I'm making it really nice and everyone's rolling their eyes at me. That's one version. I think the other version is I got kicked out of ballet and now I want my kid to be a prima ballerina to prove to everyone that I was good at ballet all along.
Right. Or my kid playing Clara and the Nutcracker might be more important to me than it is to my kid.
Yeah, they're two distinct things. And I think they're both tied together. Like your life, I think, especially if you are a stay-at-home mom who has quit your profession, that you are pouring a lot of your life's energy into your children. That's one thing. Then there's another side of it that is a little bit more unfulfilled dreams that will now be manifest through your children.
Right.
I think they're probably both problems.
We're going to talk about both of those. But I wanted to talk about like dads who do this because I feel like moving to the overinvestment, right?
Correct.
Like you care way too much about like the mom in Texas. This is probably an old deluxe alert at this point. Back in my day. But there was some mom that tried to have like a cheerleader murdered because she made head cheerleader and her daughter didn't. Do you remember that story?
Amy, do I remember that story? Of course I do. Killer cheerleader mom. I mean, they made movies about it. This was like one of the original true crime stories.
Right.
Amazing stuff.
So, yeah. So, like, that's the stereotype, and that exists. Sing Out Louise. Gypsy is like, there's a whole musical about this, that she's a stage mother and she's yelling Sing Out Louise, and her kids don't really want to be on stage, and she wants them to be big stars. So do men do this? I think they do. But the people I could think of, like, they're seen as crazy or as geniuses, but they're not seen as lame.
Well, I think stereotypically, I think more of men in this, like the kind of Tiger Woods' dad, Serena Williams and Venus Williams' dad.
Andre Agassi's dad.
Yes, the kind of sports dad who is determined that their child will be a professional athlete.
Or even like Alyssa Liu's dad. I had to look it up because, Alyssa Liu, who just won the gold, that she quit skating because she wasn't enjoying it. She quit at 16, and then at 18, she thought maybe I would want to try it again. And her dad talked in interviews about how he had to learn how to take a step back from it. Sounds like he was really trying to do right by her. It wasn't like he can't come to practice anymore because he's a nightmare. He wasn't that kind of parent, but that he had to revisit his relationship to his daughter's skating career in order for her to come back and have the success she was having.
The Andre Agassi, like Great Santini, which is definitely an oldie Lux alert. Back in my day, an old novel about the dad who was like the coach and terrible.
He had been in the military, right? Pat Conroy wrote it. It's a very thinly, what would you call that? I think it's called a Romana Clef, when it's a novel that's really about you.
Excuse you. No idea. I've heard the term Romana Clef, but I didn't know what it meant.
Anyway, it's about his family, even though the names are changed.
But the dad was very obsessed with him becoming great at football, right? In that book?
Basketball. He's bouncing the basketball off his son's head in the driveway because he's not practicing enough.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I think of this idea, I think much more of the man trying to relive its glory days, right? Mm-hmm. I am going to live my failed glory through my son at all costs, or my daughter.
Right. So this is something probably that psychologists would call symbolic self-completion theory.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what you're talking about, but I'm like exactly right. It is symbolic self-completion theory. Yes.
So this is Eddie Brummel. He's a psychologist. He says humans all have unfulfilled ambitions. So, okay, we'll cop to that part with Freud and Jung. All of us have things we wanted to be. Everybody wants to be an astronaut or a pitcher for the Yankees or a movie star, right? Like we kind of, we all have unfulfilled ambitions. As we mature, he explains that you reframe those unfulfilled ambitions to make them less painful for yourself. And that's called symbolic self-completion theory. This isn't always through your kids. An example might be, okay, I thought I'd be Serena Williams when I grew up and, win the US Open. Okay, I didn't do that, but I did win my over 40 club championship. I thought I was going to pitch for the Yankees. I'm the biggest Yankees fan there is. That you find a way to complete yourself. I thought I'd be a movie star, and now I have an Oscars party every year, and I'm super invested in who wins, and I see all the movies. These are ways that you can still participate in the identity, then make it less painful that you're not actually up there doing it.
Well, it seems more painful in some ways. I don't know.
Well, he says sports fandom is sort of like the most simple global thing of this. When the Giants win, you win, right? When the Hornets win, I win. The teams that you love, they are symbolic self-completion. It's a symbol of you up there in some way.
Yeah, I guess that's right. I was thinking sort of more of like my roommate from college who was struggling as an actor, not getting parts. And her mom gave her a snow globe for Christmas with like the Broadway logos in the snow globe and was like, here you go. And she just cried for like a month. She was like, this is the worst. It's like, this symbol is actually more painful than not. But I can see a version of it where you're like, yes, now I'm still doing the baseball life by going to every single Yankee game and filling out my little spreadsheet.
Yeah, like I didn't win a Grammy, but I sing in the choir every weekend. It's not something you think about. It's something that you just kind of do, right? It's why the things that are important to you, maybe very important to you because they complete you in some way.
Yeah, but maybe as you then have a kid and you're the biggest Yankee fan ever, you glue that baseball into their hand when they're 3 years old and say, now I've got my shot all over again.
Exactly.
And now I'm going to get out of the stands and I'm back, baby. Like I got another shot at glory. But there's another side of this. I think that this can happen even if you're not the great Santini, because there's another aspect to this that really informs some of this. I'm going to tell you what it is right after this break, Amy.
Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com. So we have symbolic self-completion theory, right? Which is this idea of like, my child will validate my dreams, justify my dreams, complete my dreams.
Basically that I just have to find a way to complete my dreams because I didn't do it. Find a symbol by which I can complete it. And your kid is a carbon copy of you, just smaller. What a symbol.
Yeah, maybe even better if they do it. But I think also, like, you can't discount sunken cost fallacy, which is the idea that things become heavier the more you invest in them. And so I do know a lot of people who I don't think have that great Santini vibe. But when you were talking about Alyssa Liu, it made me think of, I've gotten up at 5:30 every morning for 10 years to drive this child to the ice rink. And I've sat there freezing my butt off for 6 hours, watching them do their turns again and again and again. And I do know people who I think it's really hard for them when their kid quits when they're 16.
Yeah.
Because you do on some level think that all that work that you've put in is going somewhere.
Yourself is not being completed by them saying, I don't think I want to skate anymore. That would be hard.
It's really hard. I know some people who've gone through it with kids who were pretty close to being Olympic prospects and decided, as this young woman did, for their mental health or their changing interests or for whatever reason, that they were not going to pursue this elite level of athletics. And I do think it's fair as the mom to be like, wait, what? I made snacks for the team for 15 years. I put so many aspects of my own life on hold to help you achieve this dream that you're now saying you're not interested in. Maybe even like your kid wants to be a doctor or they're studying law or whatever it is. Like, you do become invested in your kids' dreams, and that's not a bad thing.
No, it's healthy and exciting. Like if you were training to be a ballet dancer. For a while, my daughter was in pretty serious training for ballet. And, I was pretty into it. And she wanted to quit, and she did quit. And it was definitely the right decision. But it was a little bit harder for me because I loved seeing her up on stage. She was good. It wasn't that she wasn't good. It wasn't that she couldn't do it. It was that she wasn't sure that this was a path that she wanted to continue down. And I could recognize myself like, oh, I like this a little too much. But the good part of it is that you're not jealous of them. I mean, I guess some parents would thwart their children's ambitions, but most of us like it a little too much that your daughter is Miss Golden Eagle and she's going to be in the front of the marching band at the football games this fall.
It's exciting.
It's exciting. It's good.
And it did take a ton of labor on your part.
Right. So, of course, you're investing in it.
I think that goes back to your original point of you're supposed to invest in this. I mean, I think we were talking about it in terms of kids getting into college, right? That there has been, I think rightfully, some pushback to the idea that parents going on social media and, oh my gosh, and here's my kid who got into this great school. And people are like, well, other kids are still struggling with this. Like, it's a difficult kind of dilemma. But when we had this conversation before I had kids this age, I was very much like, oh, it's so annoying when the moms come on and are like, my kid got into Harvard. And you kind of feel like, okay, all right, lady. But now I have a kid going to college and you see how much work and effort goes into it.
Right.
Like, you should be able to have a moment of pride. It's not your accomplishment. And I think there's a line where you cross over and you start to get the feeling of like, okay, you might be taking this accomplishment on as your own in a way that might not be totally healthy. But I do feel proud about what's going on with my kid in college and the amount of strenuous effort they've put in throughout their whole life, guided by me.
Exactly. So the line is what psychologists call ambition transference. There's a line and then there's a bad line. So we're just crossing the line into like, maybe I'm taking this a little too seriously in a not dance moms way. Like, we're going to get to the dance moms and what that's about. So we're just on the like, maybe I care a little too much about who got the lead in the play. That's more likely to occur when there is a shared interest or talent. Like for me and my kid who loves to do plays, obviously that's a great shared interest. I'm very invested in that. It's more likely to happen when it's the same sex parent and kid.
Yes.
Like the dad cares more about the son's basketball career as a rule than the female parent would. And then there's another particular intensified version of ambition transference that occurs in kids whose parents were born outside the country or the community that they're in. You're getting the chance that I didn't have. I mean, talk about, it's one thing to drive you to ice practice, right?
It's sunken cost fallacy, but it's like sunken cost reality for people too. We got on a boat and like, I was a doctor. Now I drive a cab so that you could go to Harvard.
That's right. And you are not getting a B. Right. Exactly. You can be compassionate for, I get it. I get that it would be really important to me that my kid then achieve the thing that I didn't have.
And also there is some reality in situations for kids where there's a tremendous amount of pressure, but realistically, if your parents sacrificed everything to come here and have you, they're financially also dependent on you making something happen. I mean, it's not just let it go, mom. Like, there are some actual realities in these situations that are not just, oh my gosh, stop living through your kid.
So when I talk about the dance mom kind, like when it goes like too far, because I think that's it's kind of fun to make fun of it. It's easy to see in other people.
Yes.
Very easy to see in other people. So when it really goes over the line is when it becomes something called achievement by proxy distortion. Achievement by proxy distortion is a form of controlling behavior where parents or caregivers exploit a child's talent for their own social, emotional, or financial gain, often risking the child's well-being. Okay, so this is pretty far beyond what we've talked about so far. Common in youth sports or pageants, it involves objectifying the child to satisfy the parents' needs, not the child's needs.
When I was in college, I was an intern briefly on a movie. Pat Conroy, all over this episode. Shout out to Pat Conroy, called The Prince of Tides, which was a movie, again.
Also kind of about his life.
Kind of about his life.
Right.
But it involved a scene where some very disturbing violence happens to three very, very young kids. And I was in the casting office, and one of my jobs was to go out and meet with the parents and say, I want you to understand that this scene is very disturbing. And I want to give you the opportunity to read the sides. Obviously, it's going to be filmed in a very sensitive way, et cetera, et cetera. These were little kids, 7 and under. But I want you to understand this is the nature of this part. And if for any reason you or your child is uncomfortable, no judgments, put the scenes down and walk out. And I remember thinking that what would happen is that everyone would leave. I mean, certainly I thought if this was presented to me, I would leave. And nobody left.
Oh God.
Every single parent was like, no, Janie is very mature. She can handle it. And I was like, there's no one mature enough. I mean, it was jaw-dropping. And I basically quit the job. I was like, yeah, I don't want to be doing this. Whatever this is, I don't want to be near it. And, I understand from a filmmaker's point of view that there's a story to be told, but...
And they were doing the right thing. They weren't going to trick anybody into it.
Yeah, they were definitely trying to say, this is very graphic, disturbing, and probably a situation that your child does not even understand. So how we're going to handle it. And I would be shaking going out to start to talk to these parents, oh my God, how am I going to explain it? And I could barely get 2 words out before the parents were like, not my Louis. He's very much. I was like, okay. It seemed to be more in this category.
That would be achievement by proxy distortion.
Yeah.
I did a sitcom for about a year and a half. I did about 20 or 30 episodes that had kids on it. And so I worked pretty closely. Well, that's how I met Hilary Duff.
That's right.
Before she was famous. She was in it for a little while. Anyway, I saw this thing happen that in every case, the kid was in Hollywood with one parent while the other parent was back in Michigan, let's say, with the other kids going to high school. It's like the Britney Spears story. I was seeing this play out, but they were chasing the dream with this 11-year-old and one parent in LA, and the kid was making money.
Yeah, a lot of money.
A lot of money. Exactly. And so what the kid wants, they're tired, and they have rules. So again, Warner Brothers has rules about how many takes you can do before the kid needs a break, especially little ones. But the parents would be like, no, it's fine, no, it's fine, no, it's fine, because they needed this to work, and it went beyond it's important to me, which is definitely part of it, to this has to work. So this psychologist, Dr. Martina Cartwright, she studied pageant moms in particular, which is definitely a brand of this. And she circled what she called distortions that lead to risky sacrifices, which is, if anybody's watched Toddlers and Tiaras, that they mortgage their home to buy the outfits for Miss Southwest Sunburst. They rationalize that it's going to be worth it. And then, of course, watching that who cares if they're Miss Southwest Sunburst? That doesn't lead anywhere besides another big trophy. But the distortion has set in for the parents.
I wanted to make that point when we were talking about this because it's easy to point at the parents and be like, what idiots, they don't care. They only care about this. What happens, I think, in many situations in parenting, but these are just very obvious examples, is that you take 6 very well-meaning and well-reasoned steps on a road, and then it starts to get complicated. I had a situation where very randomly, my sister, Amy's compadre, is an actor in LA. And she sent at some point a casting notice for a kid who was athletic and could, whatever it was, gymnastic. It was just a funny description of my kid. It couldn't have been more
And she didn't usually do this, but she was like, wow, this one part.
She'd never done it before. She just said, oh my gosh, this is my nephew. She sent it to me. I showed it to him. I said, be funny. Like, I just literally walked outside the front door, took a picture of his face. And I said, here's my kid. He does gymnastics, whatever the 3 things that were needed. He's at the time, I think 12, and they're looking for a 10-year-old, but he's very, very young for his age. Sent it off. They call back. It turns out it's the lead role in a feature film. They call back. We want him to do a self-tape. So he tapes. He sends it in. They send back. Is he available to film in October in South America? Whatever this whole thing is. And it starts moving really, really fast. And I'm immediately like, well, talking to some friend of mine in Hollywood about it. And I say, it's just moving fast. It's crazy. And I'm worried that he's going to just hit a growth spurt and he's not going to look 10 anymore. And the person said to me completely unironically, oh, they can give him hormones to like keep him looking 10 for a year. Like they would basically stunt his growth. And I thought, this is how it happens. You know, you think you're making a very small decision. And then the next thing you know, I'm giving my son hormone shots to retard his growth for a year so that he can be the lead in a movie.
Right.
Because I've already signed the contract and I've written $1 million check. And now am I going to tell my kid, oh, by the way, we have to go home because I'm not going to let them give you a shot that stops you from. Listen, we never got close to that line, but it made me see how quickly you make a very innocent, fun decision. And the next thing you know, you're like, is it okay that my kid spends the night at Michael Jackson's house? Like, wait, what? Like, how did we get here?
That's a really good point.
And I think that it's easy to look at people and say, and I'm in a financial position where I'm not desperate I would love $1 million, but you know what I mean? Like, it was so innocent the way we started it. I hadn't banked on the money. It's not always parents' fault that these decisions go bonkers really quick. And by the way, the movie fell apart. It never happened. He didn't get cast. We didn't have to make those decisions, but it just really helped me see how quickly life comes at you.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, let's figure out the right way for us to think about this in our more everyday situations and decisions.
Love it.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that, taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
And now, what we say we do versus what we really do.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast.
We're having a little birthday party for my daughter on Sunday.
I've assembled a budget-friendly yet hugely wondrous Harry Potter-themed party complete with magical gifts, food, and decor for 24 children that will feature simulated broom rides, pin the snitch on the Quidditch pitch games, and a butterbeer drinking contest. It should be a magical 2 hours that I've been working on for 2 months.
Oh, I just tidied up the house this afternoon.
For 5 straight hours, I completed 3 loads of laundry, deep cleaned 2 bathrooms, did a complete changeover of 3 kids, seasonal clothing, ran the dishwasher, and vacuumed out the car. I think I've injured something in my back. But don't worry, I'll walk it off.
My daughter is enjoying soccer.
6 months ago, I started observing my kid at play, and I thought she'd be a great fit on the soccer team, so I researched a couple of options in the area and found a great AYSO team for her to join. I got her uniform measurements, signed her up, and got her medical forms completed. Also, I shopped for cleats. And now, I get to spend my Saturdays sitting on a wet chair watching her run in the wrong direction and occasionally stopping to pick flowers. It's really fun.
We had a nice dinner last night.
After several years of creating a culture of harmony at our dining table, we sat down to a meal that took me 2 hours to prepare after months of internet searches to discover a recipe that lays at the exact Venn diagrammable nexus of the 8 items that everyone in my family will eat. I made sure that my kid who doesn't like mouth sounds or strange smells sat 2 seats away from my kid who likes mustard on everything. And the conversation cards I purchased last week kept everyone talking and laughing. 2 of my kids said the meal was fine and 1 said it was yucky. I'm going to bed now and crying a little. Night-night.
This has been What We Say We Do versus What We Really Do.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast. So Wendy Mogul, we had her on the show a long time ago.
Friend of the podcast.
Yes, we had her on. And she was our first sort of dream guest. I've always loved her work. Like, what if she came on the podcast?
Yeah, you loved her. I mean, I also admired her, but you were like a Wendy Mogul stan.
What if she would be on the show? So she wrote a book called The Blessing of a Skinned Knee, an amazing title. You know what this book is about. And she uses Talmudic wisdom and Jewish tradition to sort of get at parenting with a very interesting lens. I read The Blessing of a Skinned Knee a long time ago, and the title of chapter 2 was Your Child is Not Your Masterpiece. And when I read that, I needed to put the book down and think about that for a day.
Take a second. Boom.
Boom. She says, and this again comes from the Torah, comes from the writings of the Talmudic wisdom that came before us, that our children are not here for us to shape. They are supposed to become something. There's something that God intends them to be in this way of thinking. And our job as parents is to shepherd them towards becoming all that God intends for them, but it's not what we intend for them. And she argues that when you try to impose your failed baseball dreams on your child, you're actually undermining what's intended for them. And that your job is to keep them fed and safe and happy while they figure out what that is for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, love it, Wendy Mogul. Easier said than done, as they say. I agree with it 100% on paper, but, my kid is right now doing the school play, and I'm so invested in it.
Yeah.
And if she were to come to me and say, I'm quitting the school play, I would say, you can't. Grandma's coming to see you, I mean, that's a small example. But these decisions creep up on you, I feel like, in ways that you
absolutely
don't see coming.
I guess I would argue, if your kid is in the play and enjoying being in the play, we've talked about this in other episodes that we have, when do you let your kid quit, right?
Right.
This is a kid who's finding a lot of joy in this and maybe comes home one day from rehearsal and had a discouraging rehearsal. The director yelled at them, the kids are being mean, whatever, and they want to quit. Then I guess I would think, okay, my child's not my masterpiece, but I do feel like this is what's intended for them, that they do this. This is a place of ease and joy for them.
That is guidance to say, you had a bad day, you've made a commitment, you have to stick with it, versus, okay, and the school play leads to you getting headshots, and then we're going to go to the city, and then we're going to start auditioning for Broadway, and guiding them versus driving the boat, I guess.
Yes. And it's hard to know.
Very hard to know.
It's hard to find the line in that. We have friends whose daughter was an amazing tennis player and decided to, she played in college, but could have gone maybe pro. And it sounds like, well, just don't choose that. That sounds hard. Don't do that. But this was a kid who, her first tennis lesson, she was 4 or something. Anybody who ever saw this kid hold a tennis racket would stop what they were doing and said, holy cow, look at this kid. It just was so visible to anybody who knew anything about the sport that her parents were okay, all right. I guess we can move the whole family to Florida, right?
Bradenton, Florida, I bet. Yep.
Right. And this kid isn't playing anymore except for fun. So I do think it's hard to know where that line is, but
you can't force it, and you need to remember, you need to keep in mind, thinking again of toddlers and tiaras, like how many times is there on some kid, there was some famous clip of a kid being fed like pixie sticks, like she was crying and she didn't want to do it anymore. She didn't want to do the second ballroom part or whatever it was. And the mom was insisting that she mainline several pixie sticks, which are just like straws full of
sugar,
full of like
and
Kool-Aid
food
powder,
dye,
so she could get through it. She didn't want to, but she needed to. And that's right. I think that the line is when our kids say, in my own case, when my child was like, I don't want to do ballet anymore. And I was sort of like, well, what do you mean? And what do you think? Maybe you just take some, maybe you only go 2 days a week. Why? The kid doesn't want to do it anymore. And I realized that there was some symbolic self-completion happening that I needed to check in myself.
And I think with everything we talk about, it's not a series of doors. It's a series of hallways or paths. And you can get lost sometimes. And then you got to either double back or find the other path. Like these aren't, I think sometimes we feel like I have to choose the door of what I want or let my kid quit and that's it. Look at the Alyssa Liu story. Like she quit, she came back and she did it. I think sometimes these decisions feel extremely heavy, and two pieces of that. One is you can always go back to one. And then the other one, this is how we tend to approach these issues. And I've talked about it with my kids, and we talk about it all the time because I say it all the time because I love this advice. Say yes until you have to say no can be okay too. So I would say, yes, we'll go take your picture and send it into the casting agent. Okay, they came back and they said they want you to read. No harm in that. Okay, we'll go in the backyard and you can pretend to be cold and I'll tape it and I'll send it in. But understand that this is a process of always saying yes until we have to say no. And when they decide they're pulling out the hormone shot, that's a no.
Right.
So we are saying yes, but that doesn't commit us to the end of the line. It just commits us to the next stop on the train. And then at that stop, we'll say, oh, you want to shave his head? Let's think about that. That might be a yes. It might be a no. It's probably a yes. But like, it just helps the decision making of, I used to always joke with my kid who was a very good gymnast as a little kid. You can be as good a gymnast as I have to get up early on Saturday mornings or drive you far away. Like I'm not putting you on the travel competitive team or whatever. I'm not giving up my weekends to sit for 8 hours. And if you had another mom, maybe you would have gone to the Olympics, but it's not my thing. I don't want to do it.
I don't know. I guess I feel like if the universe really intended for that kid to be an Olympian,
they would find their way.
It would have happened, or you would have had 18 people calling you at home like, you don't understand. And maybe you still would have said no, but you would have gotten more pushback.
No, and I think that's right. It can be kind of facile, but I think that having the perspective when you start a journey to be like, let's look for the stops on the train where we can make decisions. So we're not just being carried along by something to a place we're not sure we want to go.
Dr. Martina Cartwright said this about achievement by proxy distortion, when you sort of lose perspective. She says that this happens when the gains of your children become your primary goals. They're not your kids' primary goals anymore, or maybe they are, but you're forgetting to check that. You've lost sight of your kids' goals and your goals being something that are different.
You're not taking your stops on the train to check in and see what's going on.
Right. And your goal is your kids' gains. That's not, I want what my kid wants. It's I want my kid to get ahead. And that's all I care about. I think it's a place where, yeah, you can get a little lost sometimes.
For sure.
Going back to like the palm trees in the fourth grade gym, like that is different. That is something, that is labor that's being asked of you by the school. The school is announcing it's this event and you're making it fun, and then you're being made fun of for making it fun. That's different. That is not this.
No, but I think it's worth circling back to that example too and saying there's a difference between living through your kids and doing and being asked to do and doing competently the invisible labor that makes our current systems run, you know?
Right.
And so relax. Why are you always so uptight? Well, because I have a sick parent and a kid who needs to get to school and 800 things that I'm being asked to do. And they're, glass balls, rubber balls, which can you let drop? None of them. I guess I can't, I think that finding worth in your work and noticing the worth of other, mostly women's work is really useful as well. That it's okay to be like, Amy, congratulations that your kid got into college. Like, I know that took a lot of effort from you. It's not an indictment of me. It's to say, listen, yes, your kid did it. It's not your achievement, but it is partly your achievement. And that's fine. I mean, I've heard people say at first birthday parties, it's the party for the mom.
Totally.
You made it through the first year.
Once around the track.
Yeah,
right?
like you did it. And I think that we should absolutely resist the story that work is meaningless. And in fact, the pursuit of that work is embarrassing or to be judged, because the system that we work on right now is that the invisible labor of women makes our school systems run, whether that's a teacher who's going out after the end of the day and going to Staples to buy crayons or to help tutor a kid who needs extra help for free, or whatever these mostly female teachers are doing in elementary school, or moms who are creating nutrition programs, after school programs, throwing really cool parties that our kids will always remember as they graduate elementary school, that you can goof on those parents, as I admittedly sometimes have, and be like, wow, they're really into, the junior prom committee or whatever, taking it way too seriously. But if you or your child is benefiting from that labor, it's worth just checking in with that and realizing that, like, oh, you're so extra, but like, you're benefiting from it.
Can I give you a little more Wendy Mogul advice as my takeaway from this?
Always up for a little more Wendy Mogul.
Again, this is ancient Talmudic wisdom that she sort of puts in for parenting. So this is the Talmudic wisdom, is that you have two pieces of paper in your pockets, one in each pocket, each side. On one scrap of paper is written, "The world was created for me." And on the other scrap of paper, you write, "I'm a speck of dust." So you have to hold both of those in your hand at the same time. I'm incredibly important and I'm not important at all. And so she says, keep that in mind for your children, that one piece of paper says, my kid is the most incredible kid that has ever lived in the whole world. And in the other one, my kid is a speck of dust.
Yeah.
That the 8th grade play is just that. And the worlds in figure skating are just that. We're all just specks of dust, and try to maintain perspective and not let it be more important to you than it is to your kid.
And I think what I really learned in this episode is, especially the bigger it gets and the more things are pulling you forward, think about those stops on the train.
Yeah.
Like, where are the times where you're saying, like, my kid is amazing at tennis. She's naturally so gifted. Everyone recognizes it. She's had it since she was little. We've put in thousands of hours into her tennis career, but it's okay to go for something hard. It's okay to, like, take that leap, but just make sure you're always making decisions, that you're never just like on a boat that is carrying you towards something that, I mean, we say it all the time too. You look at all of these stories, my kid is going to be this great child actor. When you look at statistically, that story doesn't turn out well.
Right.
You haven't seen that turn out. I remember, I've told this story before. I think that we were watching one of the royal weddings. I think it was Kate and William. And one of my younger cousins was like, oh, she's the luckiest girl in the world. And I said, statistically, that doesn't prove out. I don't think that's true, that she's the luckiest girl in the world.
Right.
So just like really checking in to say, is this still what we want? Is this what we thought it was when we started this journey? Holding it a little bit more lightly helps your child hold it a little bit more lightly.
You solved it.
Solved.
You don't always say that anymore, but it's just so evidently the
that
case.
One was solved. We can put this one away, guys. We know exactly how not to live through our kids, but how to celebrate the enormous amount of work we actually do for our kids.
That's right. Both can be true.
Done and dusted.
If you listen to this on Spotify, leave us a comment. Tell us what you thought of the episode. It'll help Spotify realize they're supposed to share our episodes to more people. It'll surface it. And you can always share this episode right where you're listening. If it's not on Spotify, hit the little, square with the arrow coming out of it. That's the share button. Send it. Send it to your sister. Send it to your friends. Send it to somebody who's, I thought this was a good conversation. We would love that. It would really help us find more listeners.
And with that, we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody.